without a plan, without a leg, without a plan, what a piece.
Yeah, join a race, dog, it's up to you. I'm John Wick and this bitch means you get stuck with the number 2. You're fucked if I'm coming through. That ain't a threat, it's a promise, nigga, honest. I got time and not much to do. Sometimes I get stuck in moods. Online peeping comments about how I've been only rhyming for a couple views and leave without a scuff or bruise. And even then I find it tough to choose. Take the humble route or bust a fuse.
Groundbreaking, never turning down. This can make the ground shake. Need some work, I got a quick turnaround like a bout face. Slick as a magician, quick to disappear without a trace. Think evicted tenants, how it got me feeling out of place. I'm on that Eddie I Delgado. Dear Gemini, I really feel like El Chapo. You ain't finna roll up on us, you a stale Frano. I serve them quicker than shell tacos from Del Taco. I'm the boss, so address me as the head honcho demigod. I swear to God, I'll wet him like a poncho. 667, one above the devil, rep the motto. Every hook's a heroin injection with Demi Lovato.
Without a plan, without a leg, without a plan, what a piece.
Pure dope, this what the fiends copping. The young titan like a teen robbing. On the beat, gliding like the green goblin. But I go Spider-Man and swing on them if it's beef wanted. I put that stick to your noodle, I don't eat ramen. Dropping heat often, even when I speak nonsense. This gift I carry ain't a peace offering, please stop her. Flow greasy, so steezy, and my feelers looking like some old Yeezys. Curls banging like I'm old Jeezy. Just with a fresh taper. Back in the town up where they kept scrapers. Slapping head bangers, stay surrounded by these bread chasers. I'm an ends maker, not a med taker. Depression under control, long as I get paper.
Leave room for Jesus, got a slow song for you. Then chase, sample it, then cook it, watch the stovetop boil. Who are you? Jewish dude, so I know my lawyer, but Peruvian too. That's why it's all arroz con pollo. That's why we getting chicken like a church and see the light, while they disguising hater comments like it's courteous advice. All the shit that you could do except for worry about my life. I did the dishes, did my laundry, even flirted with your wife. She had a 5'2" frame with a high chew waist. Yeah, that body unreal, I think she Y2K. Yeah, we taking vodka shots, no sky blue taste. Till I'm feeling lost, yeah, we pouring wild goose chase. Give me space, maybe leave it open. We a receipt of smoking, living la vida loca. Why you reviewing my shit? Bitch, you ain't even rope. But take a second, maybe take a breath for a fake reflection. Try some Deepak Chopra.
Without a plan, without a leg, without a plan, what a piece.
Them boys raided my trap house on a summer night. Broken window, got some glass all in my brother's eye. Almost left him blind as justice like it's justified. Almost cried even more than the day that Hustle died. That was his second F, shit almost fucked up his life. But then he had a son that rose to become his light. Through life's roller coasters, he know that I'm gonna ride. 5 fingers up, bitch, fuck any other sign. Had to sit down and watch a traitor take the stand. Let that white girl cook, I love the flavor blend. Cocaine, an earthquake, yeah, we shaking grams. Not Sean Combs, but every day we trying to make a band. The homie Rezik brought me up. Never hated on me, no matter who brought me up. Taught me how to hustle, how to earn an honest buck. Play and catch me if you can, until that day they locked me up. Shorty got my bail bond, told me try this belt on. Now I got her whip swinging like I'm Simon Belmont. Up all night, it's whole things that I slang. Hit the slots and for them gold vampire fangs, it's Lush.
Come take a stroll through the dark, it's scary. Smoke a blunt with Emily, cause it's poppin' Mary. Wanna in my lungs, walking with the plug. Tap your jaw, Jack while Paul paint the altar with your blood. Man, who you talking to, you scrub? You soft as a Nerf pass and boring me. I got on a nurse mask for the quarantine. First class overseas, I pluck my girl's ass off an orchard tree like a Georgia peach. It's more for me, the more I live, the more deceased. The more I live, the more alive. Feel I can live forever, man, in me immortalized. That bitch butterfly, I go inside. She stepped to me with a big tongue like Jordan 5. Who am I to hate? They pressing me to drive like a license plate. So me from a year ago is simply night and day, yeah. Massage the cow, I create higher stakes. Rolling good, my escape, smoking woods, fireplace. Let's go.
Without a plan, without a leg,
Boom. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ruin an Hour, a safe place to talk about anything from sobriety, addiction, depression, anxiety, balance, and life. My name is Kyle Gray. We are live every Wednesday and sometimes live on Twitch at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But today we're early because we got the man, the myth, the legend in the house. We got Lush 1, ladies and gentlemen. Lush, how you doing?
What's going down? It's good to see you, bro.
Good to see you, too. How's life, man?
Pretty awesome. You know what I mean? Literally 2 weeks away from 1 year clean and sober, free from all mind-altering substances.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is amazing, man. Congrats on that. That's fucking huge. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, imagine that you would make it this far?
I didn't even think that I was going to have a day sober. You know what I mean? Like, it was about a year ago, I think we were doing that Ruin Your Day concert. It was like literally about 1 year ago right now, maybe a few days from now.
Yeah.
And I hosted it, performed a few songs, and I don't know. I mean, I look back at pictures of myself from that event, and I was like, I was on a sick one. I just looked like, there's a picture of like me and RX, and I'm like, and like she's got her arm around me, and I'm like holding her like this, like clearly don't want to like get too close because like there's like the pungent aroma of cocaine on my breath, you know what I mean? And I just look like a demon, like the most awkward human being possible. And it's like you can see like RX is like a really healthy person. So like the juxtaposition of like her looking like healthy and like regular and normal and me just looking like just this diseased demon like right next to it, it's like such a sharp contrast. And yeah, I don't recognize that person. I see a lot of look back on my Instagram. I have a lot of my stories saved. Because I'm like a weird hoarder, and that manifests itself in different ways. So I like hoard memories, and I look back at the way I was, and I'm just like, I spoke, you know, several miles a minute, and made little to no sense, and just like my head was just spinning out of control, and it's crazy to see the then and now. You know, I was a shell of the potential of a man that I am today, you know?
Yeah, that's really true, man. I mean, like, I'm not saying that's true that you're a shell of the potential, but that perspective is a really good one to have, even for people that aren't sober too. I think a lot of people fail to reach their potential because they accept mediocrity in their life and the status quo. And that's something that you were probably falling into. You were falling into your addictive ways, into the numbing out the uncomfortable. Do you like that stuff exists, like old footage of you where you're inebriated when you're using, because you can like literally like physically see the challenges you've faced and the progress you've gone through to become the person and the path you're on today?
I do. I mean, first of all, it's like the deeper I would get into my daily patterns, like that way of living became so normalized. I couldn't separate that from just the core of my being. So I thought that that's who I was, what I was going to be. I was, had resigned to the fact that I was going to die at an early age. Didn't care, you know what I mean? Was like, hey, as long as I leave a cool legacy behind, like I'll be on some rock star shit. And I didn't care, you know. Was very ambivalent about my health because I never had, like, from the time I was young, I kind of thought that I was gonna not live a long life. You know what I mean? Like, I allude to it in my writing a lot. I would say things like that quite a bit, make reference to it, almost glamorize it and welcome it. And, like, talk about manifestation. I was on the road to manifesting an early grave. And as far as like, sometimes there's certain footage I look back and it's really embarrassing the way I was, and I feel super awkward, and it just like brings up emotions of, man, this was a wasted opportunity. You know what I mean? Here I am, like, this is like a platform, a chance for me to do something great, and I didn't live up to it, and this is how fucking stupid and pathetic I look. And sometimes that makes me, I see that and I feel angry and I feel resentful towards myself. But I mean, other times it's like a whole other thing, and I like almost glamorize it, and it's like I have euphoric recall, and I'm like, hey, like that felt great. I was so cool and sexy back then, even though I clearly wasn't. You know what I mean? Like my mind state is like warped permanently. You know what I mean? Like, and I have, like during my addiction, I would assign value to a lot of fabrications, a lot of things that weren't real and weren't true, but like in my mind I was like, this is real, this is what makes somebody cool, this is what makes somebody interesting. And you know what I mean? And like sometimes I fall back into those patterns, and but overall it's just good because it's like, I'm a history buff, and I like, that's where I was, and I wouldn't be like, the things that I'm saying now wouldn't be poignant and wouldn't resonate if I didn't have a rich history of addiction and negligence of my own mental and physical and spiritual health. So it's like you need to kind of have that frame of reference.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you wouldn't be the person you are today without the struggles you went through. You wouldn't have experienced it all and learned and grown. I don't know if it's a really healthy perspective to look back on things and think of yourself as stupid or like a wasted opportunity, because then that's like putting yourself at a disadvantage, because all you were doing was you were doing the best you could with what you had at the current point in time, and you were right where the universe needed you to be at that time in your life. And it was probably to learn the lessons to teach yourself to become the person you are today. It's not like, I wouldn't look at it like, oh, I'm so dumb, like look at like these mistakes I've made. It's more so be like proud of the path you're on today and that you're not doing those things anymore, you know?
Well, yeah, you're right. And when I see other people that remind me of myself at that time, I don't think of them as stupid. I think of them as sick. And I'm like, this person is sick right now. And I pray for him, because I know exactly how it feels. For the longest time, I thought that I wouldn't have an edge as a person, or wouldn't be able to be like a real, for lack of a better term, badass person or whatever, if I wasn't on something. And now, like, I look at the real, like the strongest people I know, the most badass individuals I know are the people that really went to the brink, you know what I mean? That physically saw parts of hell and walked out the other side and are fighting for their lives and for survival. To me, there's nothing stronger than that in the world, I mean, more power to the people that never had to get to that point, that, are fighting with their own other demons and have other things that weren't self-imposed. I have infinite respect for that as well, and I'm definitely not trying to undermine that. And but for as far as on the spectrum of drug use and how it varies from casual fun partying to the depths of despair.
Yeah, for sure. I want to echo what somebody is saying in the chat. Joel is saying you end up feeling like drugs are your personality. And that's very true. When you're suffering from an addiction, you attach the addiction to your identity so much that basically you feel like you're actually transparent, and the drugs and the inebriation is what makes you interesting. It what makes you outgoing, is what makes you be able to like make decisions, like I know a lot of people that say they like can't do a certain thing without drinking. Certain people can't date without drinking. A lot of people I know can't have casual sex without being inebriated. And the fact is you're just using that as an excuse to let yourself do those things. Like those things aren't helping you in any way, shape, and form. And the most obvious example I can give is you. Like I know a lot of people are like, man, Lush is he's just always on one. He's just always crazy. And a lot of people would just attribute that to he does drugs, you know, like when he's hosting, he's high. And then when you see you now and you're sober and your personality, in my opinion, shines brighter than ever. It's like self-evident that it wasn't that at all. It was always within you this whole time. If anything, the inebriation was nullifying more of your personality that you had to give out.
For sure, 100%. But at the same token, I cannot blame people for falling into the persona and believing the persona that I presented for so long. So it's like, yeah. And at the end of the day, I made it clear that drugs were a huge part of my life and what I did. And I would get high on camera and, you know, was clearly, you know, glazed nostrils and, you know, I was on one. And so for people to make that correlation, I can't really blame them. It's frustrating that, that I did that to myself. And because in reality, yeah, I've always had a vibrant live personality and, you know, been outside the box and been a character. And I don't need drugs to do that. You're right. It would actually dull aspects of my personality and make me hold back. Like I still party. And I go crazy and I'm up and I'm dancing and I'm acting a fool and saying funny shit. That's never going to change. The difference is it's not out of control and I'm able to reel it in and I'm not like rolling the dice with my health and putting other people at risk as well. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the only difference. But I still turn up as harder than I ever did. I don't the effects of the drugs don't whoop my ass. I don't need a synthetic substance to continue feeling like that. I live in a perpetual state of readiness. I'm ready to go at all times. Like you could hit me up in the middle of the night and yeah, once I wipe the sleep out my eyes, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? I could recite a dissertation. I could record a song. I don't need to smoke, drink, snort, pop something in order to get ready because I'm already here. You know what I mean? I'm already in creative mode. I'm already in entertainer mode. Because it's like a wise man once said, it ain't on me, it in me. You feel me? Like it's a part of the core of my being as a human being.
100%. And that goes for everything. That goes for anything in life. Everything is already within you. It's just allowing yourself the gateway to feel it. From everything from love, from confidence, from everything is already built within you. It starts within. It doesn't start from the outwards. A question in the chat, if you just want to really quick go over this, because I know we've kind of gone over this a couple times.
I don't mind.
Like, what made you get sober?
Simply put, it was desperation. I desperately wanted to get sober. It wasn't even that I wanted, I needed to. And I actually had a fleeting, I mean, I could go over and tell like the specific chain of events and story which led me to actually get sober. It's something that clearly a part of me wanted to do because I look back and over the years, several times, there's multiple documented instances of me saying I was going to get sober. You could see it, you know, I was even on Ruin Your Day within the past couple years talking about how I was trying to get sober, was stopping taking certain drugs that I was on and only smoking weed or this or that. I remember after the whole Ether event in 2014, I said that I was going to get sober, and there's documented articles in the LA Weekly where I'm talking about how I'm going to get sober and go to treatment. It was, you know, but I never actually had any intentions of doing it. I've been addicted to drugs since I pretty much started when I was 12 years old, smoking and drinking. I didn't just drink once and smoke once. I just went off the rails instantly. Went from trying my first, smoked weed for the first time and was rolling joints in my room, smoking by myself when I was 12 years old. I never started off casually. Got arrested for the first time in an alley drinking 40s when I was 12, 13 years old. So the consequences started really young. Went to juvenile hall and treatment for the first time when I was 16. Went to 10 other treatment centers between the ages of 16 and 19. Lived in three halfway houses. Went to a bunch of residential treatment centers of multiple varieties. Some grimy, some like super cush. It didn't, but I never like. I was only doing it to pacify law enforcement, my parents, relationships that I had. I never had any genuine desire to get clean and didn't believe that my life was unmanageable despite the blatant unmanageability that was in my face. It wasn't until the beginning of last year and when I was already on a huge downward spiral. Like, I got divorced in the beginning of 2018, and like, I was at a bad point before then, and it just started to get worse and worse and worse. Being single at that point, it just removed a layer of accountability and giving a fuck. So I just started partying way harder, trapping way harder, doing way more drugs, and I had already hit several bottoms. But at that point, there was no more fucks to give. I wound up getting into another relationship with my current fiance, and she kind of like, if it wasn't for her coming into my life when she did, I was gonna die 100%. I was like, I was living like I had a nice apartment that I had turned into pretty much abject squalor. There's like, dog piss and my own piss all over the place. Didn't have all the clothes I have, nothing was clean. I couldn't even barely get out of bed. You know what I mean? I'm like surviving off of like top ramen and Funyuns and Xanax and, disgusting, the cheapest vodka that I could find at the corner store, and just that's how I was living. Smoking roaches. Like, I was just in a really really low place, taking whatever I could afford to get my hands on. I had started playing with drugs that I had never done before. I was fucking with black, which heroin. I was fucking with crystal meth. I'd wound up like, it was crazy actually. I'd wound up like a friend of mine and myself wound up like running up into a trap house in a different state and stealing a bunch of drugs. So I was planning on selling it, but instead of selling it, I started doing it. So like, I'm now at that point strung out on crystal. Was doing is whenever I could find other drugs, I would do that too. I wound up. She came in my life and kind of like started whipping me into shape. Cleaned up cleaned me up physically and mentally. Still very spiritually sick. I wound up getting evicted from that spot. She moved all the way across the country and moved both of us into a nice luxury apartment on the outskirts of downtown LA. It was really dope. Started lying to her, saying that I was getting completely clean, but I wasn't still. And there's nothing she could have done. She did so much. If it wasn't for her, I would have been dead. But she couldn't get me clean because I had to get myself clean. That's not the way it worked for me. You know what I mean? There is no human power that could restore me to sanity, that could relieve my addiction. I had to want to do it and go through the steps. I was still in active addiction at that point. Wound up getting evicted from that apartment. I was still like, what's crazy is I was still putting out music. I was still hosting events during this time, but it was like I would basically be able to put myself together to appear normal for a few hours at a time, but I was anything but normal during like hosting the Town Business 1 event, for example. Like, both Town Businesses really, but the first one, I was completely smacked off of pills. The whole time. She like, I was getting, I couldn't even pay my phone bill. My phone had gotten shut off. She got me a new phone, like, kind of was nursing me back to health. That other apartment that she wound up getting us, I got us evicted from that because I was spending the rent money on drugs, stealing it and lying. So she wound up moving us back to the East Coast, where she's from, and I had a little bit of drugs left, ran out when I was out there, convinced her to send me back to LA so I could. She didn't know I was going to re up on drugs, but that's one of the things I was going to do in addition to finishing up the album, which I was working on, which coincidentally is now being released on my 1 year of sobriety anniversary, February 3rd. So it's just crazy the way that works.
Wow, that's nuts.
And then I came home to LA, wound up getting back on drugs again, and about little over a year ago, or a little less than a year ago, I ran out again. And while I was supposed to be gone for like 3 or 4 days, I wound up being in LA for a month. And while I was was in a brief moment of I was waiting to get re-up on drugs again and was just at a very weak time. I made some cryptic post on Facebook talking about, like, I'm not well, I need help. My brothers and my girl kind of like did like a little over the phone trifecta intervention gangbang situation where they like convinced me, hey, like, you need to get clean. I wasn't down to do it, but my brother was so persistent on the phone, and he was like, dude, you need to go to treatment. You need to go to treatment. And I was like, well, I'll think about it. I'm having this conversation while I'm at my dealer's house, and I'm reeing up at this exact time. So like at that
so
exact
you're
moment,
sober and you're like allowing yourself to have that conversation, knowing that you'll get high again. You're like, okay.
I wasn't even, essentially, but I wasn't even like intending to stay clean. It was like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't even like, I can't even consider it sober. I was detoxing. I was sick. I was dope sick. I'm like literally dope sick, like on the verge of throwing up and having an anxiety attack. And just to pacify him, just to get him off the phone, I was like, I had agreed to go to treatment. I was like, because he was like, go to treatment. And I was like, I'll think about it. Yeah, I'll think about it. We'll see what's up. And then he was like, well, let's think about it on the phone right now together. I knew the only way I would get this motherfucker off the phone would be for me to agree to go to treatment. And the problem was I was staying at his house. When I was in LA, that's where I was at. I was at his house. He was out of state. He was actually in Canada working on a movie. He's a director and writer, so he's working on a movie. I'm staying with his wife and my nieces at the time. So like I can't like blow him off because I have to, all my stuff's at his crib and shit. So, and then as soon as I got high again, which was a matter of minutes later, I instantly regretted the decision to go to treatment. And then I'm getting calls like, hey, you're going here. This is what you're going to some place. We found a spot for you in Texas, blah, 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 blah. You're leaving tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, wait, hold up. I'm not going tomorrow. I still have one more song I need to record. I'll go if I could go on Sunday, which was actually Super Bowl Sunday, February 2nd. And wound up doing that. Spent the night at my parents' house the night before I went, which I wasn't even allowed at my parents' house. But they were like, you could stay here if you go to treatment. And stayed there for the night. 6 a.m. I stole a bottle of champagne from like my parents' little like booze area, which neither of them drink. My dad's in the program as well, but they have alcohol for entertaining guests. So like I'm literally like chugging a bottle of champagne, popping my last pill, smoking a blunt on my parents' porch, and I get picked up and Next thing I know, I'm on a flight to Austin, Texas, and going to treatment.
Wow. Damn.
And it was desperation. The short answer is really, it was desperation. Like, desperation tends to be the catalyst for spiritual experiences. And that's what it was for me. Like, there was no way I would have gotten clean if I wasn't 100% desperate. If I hadn't exhausted all options, all resources, if my back wasn't against the wall, if I really didn't think that I was on the precipice of death and that nobody was going to have my back anymore. My friends were all sick of it. My family was sick of it. That I couldn't burn them anymore. My girl was finna skate. Like, I don't know why she didn't, to be honest. Like, there is no other options. There's no other people I can manipulate. I was going to be homeless or in a motel room using till I died or this. That was it. It was pure desperation.
And fast forward a year later, man, here you are. Sober. Fucking incredible, dude. Congrats to that. That's like so fucking amazing, man.
It's such a weird thing when I think about it. Like, I'm being congratulated for not poisoning and killing myself. It's so, like, it sounds so backwards when I think about it like that, because that's literally all I had to do was stop destroying my life. But the reality is, it's the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. You know what I mean? And I've done a lot of difficult things. You know, like had a lot of great successes in arenas that I was never meant to be in. You know, being like a white boy from West LA, I should have never had as much success in the world of hip hop as I did. I should have never gone to the places and accomplished the things that I did in the fields that I did. You know, against insurmountable odds, and I defied them. But all that aside, the most difficult thing I ever did was not destroy my life.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, dude. And that's not, I don't think it's an easy thing to do by any means. To minimize it I don't know if that's the best route either, because it's like everybody's path is different and it's subjective to each person. So what you went through is incredibly hard. You went straight into the uncomfortable. You looked yourself dead in the face and you said, I can be more than just this. I can make myself better, you know, and that's not easy at all. That's something that's extremely commendable from anybody. I take my hats off to anybody changing their life for the better, because that is something that we are not tested every day in society to do. We are tested in society we aren't even tested in society. We are basically made to like just be the most like status quo average people, and addiction is bred in that mindset. So you stepping outside of the box and going against the grain of your own impulses to change yourself for the better is extremely commendable.
Well, I mean, the silver lining is, and I appreciate you, but I feel like the silver lining is hopefully I could be, and my growth as a man, and could serve as a catalyst of inspiration in somebody else. And every single, like, that's all I can do. I just want to be a testament to other people, like a living, breathing, walking testament that you could get, if I could get out the mud like this, so could you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to make it. My fate was already sealed. My path was already ordained. So the fact that I broke the cycle, and like, y'all seen how I was living, y'all seen the series of misadventures that my life was, anyone that was paying close attention, and the cruel joke of failed potential that was the punchline of my existence for so long. And now I've kind of flipped the script on that, and ever since then, and it's only been the first year, but it's been a series of quiet triumphs and successes and positivity and, you know, and general happiness. Like, I don't wake up hating life anymore. I don't wake up in tears, and I'm not going to front and act like everything's peaches and cream, because it's difficult, and I'm still faced with a great deal of struggles, but I have the tools to deal with them, and I'm not afraid of my own life and facing the adversity around me, as opposed to hiding from it like a coward, because that's what my drug use looked like. My drug use looked like me running from my problems, trying to numb myself and trying to avoid the inevitable fate of the web of lies and concoction of bullshit that I had created. You know what I mean? Like I literally like had like a witch's cauldron of fucking bullshit and dysfunction, and I was just seasoning it on a daily basis and adding to it. And I actually face my problems, and it's scary. You know what I mean? And like that kind of brings us to the topic: are how am I doing and how am I staying sober? There are a lot of tools that I utilize that help me on this path. Now, everybody's sobriety is different, you know, like your sobriety is a lot different than mine. You know what I mean? Like your addiction was different. There's no two people have the same, there's no blueprint for success. And I can't speak to what works for other people. All I know is my sobriety, my path, and what's worked for me. So I'll speak to that. You know what I mean?
Dope. So what tools have you used to help you stay sober?
Well, the first one obviously is my daily reprieve of my prayer and meditation. You know, I can't say that. Like, obviously, I feel a lot better. You know what I mean? And obviously, prayer and meditation doesn't lead for me to getting everything that I want, but it does lead to me being accepting of what I have and grateful for what I have. And, you know, I'd be lying if I said that I prayed every day, but there's a 100% correlation. And all the days that I do pray, I 100% feel more content and just feel like a lighter aura about myself and feel more connected and less susceptible to my own character defects. And that's a 100% correlation. Those days where I engage in prayer and meditation, I feel better. That's across the board. There's no exceptions to that, you know?
Dope. That's cool. What other things do you do when you feel like, because somebody asked in the chat, what do you do to prevent your mind from wanting to use again? Like, what do you do in that instance, or if that even comes up?
My mind is always going to want to use again. You know what I mean? There's nothing I can do. I'm wired that way. I'm a drug addict. It's not a question of if I'm going to relapse. It's a question of when I'm going to relapse, unless I utilize these tools, you know? And so I always am good. I have euphoric recall. I have thoughts that make me want to use and romanticize it. And I think about it all the time. Like, but it's important for me. What I have to do is, first of all, hold that accountable. You know, hold myself accountable for that. Speak about it, because that thought will not become a reality unless I allow it to. You know, so if I'm having urges, I speak about it. You know, I pray about it. I meditate about it, and then there's various tools I use. So in my like the chances of those thoughts coming up and being powerful are greatly reduced if I engage in my daily reprieve. So first of all, like, I woke up today, and before like the way I look at it, like I've used the phrase spiritual currency. It's like, if I run out of spiritual currency, then I'm gonna relapse. But I put money in the spiritual bank by doing my prayer, by meditating, by doing my nightly inventory, by speaking about all the things and writing down everything that I'm thinking. How was I resentful? How was I dishonest? You know what I mean? What was I afraid of? Like, what was like, and I have these different things that I go over every single day. And when I write that down and send it to my sponsor, and I'm not saying you have to work a 12-step program or have a sponsor. I just know what works for me. You know what I mean? And doing that works for me. Like, I go through the motions of doing that and talking about it. And then if I just like wake up and go on social media and see a bunch of things that I disagree with and a bunch of people whose realities threaten my belief systems and their perception threatens my perception of self before having then my spiritual currency probably is going to get overdrafted, and that's greatly increasing the likelihood of a relapse or the mental obsession which leads to relapse. So like it's like putting on an armor for reality, but before I step into the cold, I gotta have my damn jacket on, and like me walking into the world naked is a scary ass thing, regardless of how confident I am. Like I want to make sure that I'm have some damn warmth. You feel me? I'm
Yeah.
not trying to catch no motherfucking hypothermia in this bitch. So it's important for me to like take care of myself in that regard. So like there's other tools though beyond just the basic prayer and meditation, and I could go into my whole entire like regime of meditation and prayer and what that looks like if people are curious. But as far as other tools, there's my nightly inventory, which I spoke about, and most people do it as nightly inventory, but I do it in the morning. It's the first thing I do. I'll do my prayer and meditation. Then, like, I'll read you the questions that are on my inventory, and
Okay.
I fill this out. So, okay. Nightly inventory. Wow. Um, when we retire and now we constructively review our day, were we resentful? So I talk about, and the answer is always going to be yes. I was resentful about something, whether it was on a major or a small level. These are the thoughts that lead me to wanting to use. These are like at the core of my addiction. It's my resentment. It's my selfishness. How was I selfish? How was I dishonest? How was I afraid? Do I owe an apology? The answer to all those questions are always yes, no matter what. Even if I feel like I've been perfect, there's still been something that I did. And even if I didn't do anything that day to where I owe an apology, there's something that I've done in the past which I haven't addressed, and I owe an apology for that. Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Not always, but if so, talk about it. And this is just for me. Even though I'm sending it to my sponsor, it doesn't matter. So whatever these things, these vulnerabilities, these things that I'm ashamed of, they wind up having so much power over me that if I don't speak on them, that's going to lead me to relapse. That's going to lead me to use. Was I kind and loving towards all? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Talk about it. What could I have done better? There's always something. Nobody is perfect. There's always something we all could do better on a daily basis. Was I thinking about myself most of the time? The answer to that is always yes. I'm always thinking about myself most of the time. I try to get outside myself. I try, even when I'm being altruistic, even when I'm engaging in service work, I'm still thinking about myself more than anything else because I'm a selfish son of a bitch, and that's just the way it is. Um, were we thinking of what we could do for others, or what we could pack into the stream of life? I don't know. That might not make sense to people. The stream of life is essentially, like we're either giving, we're packing positivity into it, we're trying to help other people, or we're taking from it. And am I being more of service, or am I being more of a taker? And there's normally not much of a middle ground at the end of the day. So I do that. Then I do a gratitude list. I list all the things I'm grateful for. That changes that changes every day. It could be really simple, like the one I did today. I just said God, sobriety, family, friends, music, health, shelter, prosperity, forgiveness, and the 12 steps. Then there's other ones that are like really specific. Um, um, like I did. This one is God sent on my birthday, I said, another year of life, health, my family for showing me love, Marissa for being so devoted, Smokey and all my friends, opportunities and respect for my music and having fans slash supporters, my sobriety, not having to lie, being close with my family, being healthy. You know what I mean? So it's different things every single day.
Yeah.
On January 10th, I said God, sobriety, music, Thai food, Fredo, Chase's Beats, getting love on the live stream, Marissa, family, and my old sober house manager, Ron. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like
Dope.
it could be, it's different shit all the time, but it's important for me to be grateful. And when I pray, when I do my prayer, it's always from a tense of gratitude. So even if it's something that I don't have in my life yet, it's something that I want. That's like, it's like a little like trick right there because I'm manifesting it because I'm expressing gratitude for things that I don't even have yet, but things that I want in my life. Like, and it's not. I try not to pray for anything that's selfish. Everything I pray for, it's something that's beneficial to other people, whether it's my family and giving them a peace of mind by me being sober, or me being able to provide for my family. So instead of being like, oh, God, thank you for $1,000,000, it's God, thank you for providing me with financial stability so I can help feed my family. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it's not from a selfish standpoint. It's, I don't know, that could be a little manipulative, and I'm willing to take accountability for that, but it is what it is. Another really vital tool that I use is what's referred to as you could call it spot check inventory, you could call it 10th step inventory, whatever. It's when certain things pop up, like when a fear pops up, when a resentment pops up, and when a dishonesty pops up. I have a process of what I do. I need to, first of all, like I said earlier, being accountable, holding myself accountable, sharing this with somebody else. So I'll tell somebody else, like, hey, like, I was dishonest today. I lied about some shit. I'll say what it was. Um, I'll say what the fear behind that dishonesty was, or the reason why I had that dishonesty. I'll pray about it, and then in order to in order to make that right, I'll have to do something of service to help somebody else, and that's packing into the stream of life as opposed to taking from it. So, and just the physical act, it takes away so much power. Like fears, like the fears that I used to be so consumed by fears, and then that would only get perpetuated and become worse because I wouldn't speak on it. Like I remember like in treatment, when you're there, like you're within your first week of being there, they're gonna give you a blood test, and they're gonna test you for everything from fucking scabies to rabies to HIV, and I was terrified, even though I hadn't really had. I'd been with the same woman for a while before that, so I hadn't been having a lot of unprotected sex. I had in the past, but not at this time. I hadn't. I wasn't doing intravenous drugs, so there's no reason I would have had any bloodborne disease, HIV, or anything. But it's a pretty typical reaction. You get scared when you have that test. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And I was, I wound up having to, like, that had so much power over me until I actually went through this process and actually spoke about it and prayed about it, and then tried to do something to not only help somebody else but take my mind off of it. That shit right there was all consuming. And then guess what? Lo and behold, it turned out I was fine. I didn't have no incurable diseases. Guess what? I remember being at my halfway house, at my sober living house, and I had moved out. Actually, it was shortly after I moved out, and I moved back to Philly with Marissa, and my old house manager, hit me up and said, "Hey, you got something in the mail. I don't know what it is." There was no return address on it, and I was instantly scared because I was like, "Oh, is this like what's in this mail? What's this piece of mail? Is this from the LAPD? Are they after me? Did I do like did they reopen a case that had been closed? Because the last time I had received the mail like that, that's what it was."
Oh, interesting.
And so I was all terrified about that, catastrophizing the situation, going over the worst possible scenarios. And then I, actually did a 10-step on it and prayed about it and went through the motions and, figured out. And then obviously when I talked to him later, it was just, it was from a company that my girl had ordered some online clothes from, and it was just a catalog that was coming in the mail. So all that energy, extending all this energy for no reason, that when there was nothing wrong. And of course in my mind, just created the worst case scenario of what it was, and I was living in that fear. That's the type of shit that'll make me relapse if I don't deal with it. And those are the type of thoughts that wind up leading to the mental obsession. So it's important for me to utilize these tools and keep them in mind and close to my heart and practice them on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure. I think something that's noteworthy that you talked about is just your mind being both your greatest strength and also your greatest weakness too. And that's something that I've been reading a lot in this book that I'm reading about, how everything is a mind game. Everything is, from everything from getting sober, from meeting somebody that you're in a relationship with, to overcoming any aspect challenge in your life. It all boils down to being a mind game, and sobriety is no different at all. I see somebody, the book for people that want to know is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This book is...
Oh, he's the man, dude.
Yeah, this book, I'm already halfway through it. I started it a couple days ago. My God, like this shit improved my workouts. Like I've been like doing this like circuit training. I do 400 push-ups, 400 sit-ups, and 400 squats in a row. And I've been doing it for almost a year now, and I've just been adding. It started at 300, and I used to do it in under 20 minutes. And last week, I was doing it in 19 minutes, and ever since I've been reading this book, I've cut down on a minute. So I've gotten a minute faster because it just pushes you. It like unlocks certain aspects of your mind, especially it talking about how everything is a mind game, and you just want to succumb to being comfortable so much in your life, and that learning that succumbing to that comfortability won't do fucking anything for you. It's not going to fucking improve anything. Nobody ever got got any level of success by doing just the basic, the most comfortable. And also this I think it's really cool. He talks about like this hive mind mentality that we have nowadays about working smarter, not harder. And that's actually kind of just a cop out to being sort of lazy and like trying to find corners in life, when it's like, nah, just work your ass off and like do the work involved. If you gotta go to treatment in Austin, Texas to get sober, it's what you gotta fucking do. And like, you're living proof that like
I had to do. There was no other. I couldn't have taken an online course.
For real.
Okay.
Yeah, you could. And like the thing is, it's like even you battling the mental obsession of like you being like, I'll go to rehab, or I'll go get help, and then like not really going. It's like you had to literally be forced into it. You had to force yourself into going. You had to go through being scared in the center, in the treatment center. You had to go without talking to people. You had to go without seeing your fiance for fucking weeks on end. That shit ain't easy. And like you can't candy
coat that. And then a worldwide pandemic came out within like a month of me being there, and you know what I mean.
And even further from that, you're a fucking musician at heart, and you were there not being able to make music. So it's like you had all these things stacked against you to get sober, and you still fucking did it. You didn't bitch out and be like, oh, this is uncomfortable. This isn't like, I can't even see my fiance. I can't make music. This isn't perfectly what I want it to be. It's like, nah, the universe puts you right where you fucking need to be. You know, it's like, you know,
I can't even smoke weed here, bro. This sucks.
Yeah, word. So, you know, it's just fucking, it's cool, man, like that you bit the bullet and you did the thing that wasn't easy and that a lot of people don't do to make themselves better. It's super commendable. I'm so proud of you for being sober for this long, and for coming on the show, like talking to people about sobriety, especially because you're such a public figure and your using has been so public. And I think you just being a public person is extremely therapeutic to people, because people see what you've gone through, and they see, like, people can see it on you. They can see you and be like, holy shit, you look so good. You look amazing. And I'm sure that you're a reflection of other people's doubts within themselves. Like, oh, fuck, I could look that good. You know, it's like if I put in the work, you know, to get healthy, I could see these things that I struggle with within Lush himself too, within me, that I can tackle and I can challenge myself to overcome. It is possible. It is possible to get sober, and, you know, you're living proof of that.
Thank you, man. And like, I mean, I think the strongest testament and one of the greatest joys that I've experienced in this time is I'm able to have, like, the relationships I have with people in my life are so much stronger. And there's not this like foundation of like quasi just familiarity that doesn't really exist, because it has a veil of intoxication in front of it that that always obscured the reality. So it's like now, like, the relationship I have with you, that I have with so many of my other friends, is so much more genuine than it ever has been, and that I take so much solace in that right there. And you know, I think the one thing I should have mentioned when I was talking about the spot check 10-step inventory is a key component of that as well is making amends. Like, if I'm resentful towards somebody, or if I'm being dishonest about something, amends is a key component on that, whether it's on like a major level of me actually making an amends, or on a microcosmic, like, hey, my bad, I did this level. It's something that I always need to keep in mind. And accountability, like, that's been the number one thing that's kept me sober, is honesty and accountability. And that the result of that is me being able to have these genuine relationships. And, you know, like, you, like, when I tell you I'm gonna be here at this time and do this, like, you don't have to question it. You don't have to think. There's no asterisks attached to it anymore. Like, oh, like, I don't know, he might flake, or he might this or that, or get distracted, or, you know, I'm not a liability as a friend, as a worker, as a colleague, you know, in relationships. Like, and that to me is one of the greatest gifts that sobriety has given me.
Hell yeah. That's fucking amazing, man. Well, we're pretty much done with the hour. You got anything to leave the chat with? Any stuff to look out for? Anything coming up on the horizon?
I appreciate all y'all's support. You know, I pretty much, everyone says I should write a book, should make a movie, but this album that I got coming out on February 3rd, Hyams, it's my last name, is pretty much it's a listenable, palatable, contextualized version of my dysfunction. It is the last testament of my addiction and the cry for help that my life had become, and the glimmer of hope at the very end that it is now. So I put everything into that record, and although I'm still working and making new music since then, like, there's something really special about that, and I hope that everybody supports it, enjoys it, is able to glean something from it, and stay tuned for that.
Hell yeah. Lush One, ladies and gentlemen, congrats on. So when is your sobriety date? When is your birthday, as they say?
3rd of February.
3rd of February, man. Fuck yeah. We'll do a special Rune an Hour on that day.
I'm definitely with the business, bro. I appreciate it. Thank you, riders. Much love. Y'all do the damn thing. All right.
Hell yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop the stream, but you can stay on, Lush.